For consumers, two of the most important questions posed by plant-based alternative products are: can they compete with nutritional value of traditional animal-based products, and are they healthy? So health is a strong motivator to buy these products. And of course, as a public health nutritionist, I also see this aspect as extremely important.
Hello, and welcome to the New Food Hub podcast, where you can discover the future of food. In each episode, we'll be chatting with industry experts to provide you with actionable insights on the latest innovations and trends in the alternative protein space. Now, together, we will be navigating the future of alternative proteins, showing insights on how to prepare ourselves and our businesses for a more sustainable food future. In last month's episode, we chatted about getting meat-eating consumers on board, focusing on the taste, texture, and aroma of plant-based products. Today, I want to focus more on nutrition, looking at how businesses can improve the nutritional aspects of alternative proteins and why they should want to do so. We have two fantastic guests lined up for you today with a lot of knowledge on this topic. Our very own Anna-Lena Klapp, ProVeg Head of Research, and Valentina Gallani, ProVeg Health and Nutrition Manager. Both guests have extensive backgrounds in nutrition, health, and science, along with experience in the plant-based industry. They've recently published an incredible study into the nutritional value of plant-based alternatives. So I'm really excited to hear their thoughts on this topic today. So let's go and say hello. Hello, Anna-Lena and Valentina. It's so great to have you both on the podcast today. So let's start with the importance of this topic then, because it's such a big one to kind of broach. Anna-Lena, let's start with you. Why is improving the nutritional profile of alternative proteins so crucial in today's food landscape?
So the evidence is clear that compared to conventional meat and milk, most plant-based alternatives have a lower carbon footprint. They use less land and water and produce less air and water pollution. However, for consumers, two of the most important questions posed by plant-based alternative products are: can they compete with nutritional value of traditional animal-based products, and are they healthy? So health is a strong motivator to buy these products. And of course, as a public health nutritionist, I also see this aspect as extremely important.
Taking this a little bit further, what are some of the common nutritional gaps in both traditional animal-based proteins and alternative proteins? What kind of common nutritional deficiencies need addressing in just the global population?
Yes, so besides protein, animal-based foods can be good source of micronutrients like iron, vitamin B12, and calcium. And in general, plant-based proteins need to be fortified with these micronutrients. On the other hand, animal-based foods are higher in saturated fat and trans fat, and we should eat definitely less of those both. And alternative proteins generally have a healthier fatty acid profile, and they contain fiber. And what many people don't know is that fiber is only found in plant-based foods. So animal products do not contain any fiber. And if you buy an animal-based product and it contains fiber, it's because it includes a plant-based ingredient. For example, with chicken nuggets, it is the breadcrumbs that are made from wheat, and that they contain fiber. It's not the chicken. And fiber has numerous health benefits, such as lowering cholesterol levels and helping improve blood sugar levels. And high fiber foods tend to be more filling than low fiber foods. So you're likely to eat less and stay satisfied longer, which can help with weight management, for example. And fiber and unsaturated fatty acids are the big benefits of plant-based alternatives. And if they are fortified with certain micronutrients, they can be an excellent alternative to animal-based proteins.
With this in mind, then, how can well-formulated alternative protein products contribute to better overall health for consumers?
Yeah, that's a good question. So in general, plant-rich diets should prioritize whole foods, including plant-based fruits and vegetables, grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds. However, the transitioning from a meat and dairy-centered diet to a plant-centric diet can be made so much easier with the availability of plant-based alternative products that have like a similar taste and a similar structure, texture, to the animal-based counterparts. So, well-formulated alternative products can not only be like a bridge to a more plant-based diet, but they can also become a permanent part of the balanced diet if they are formulated well. So let's take calcium-fortified soya milk as an example. This product is a fantastic and healthy source of protein and unsaturated fatty acids. And thanks to its fortification, plant-based eaters do not need to worry if they replace cow's milk one by one with soya milk, because it delivers the same key nutrients. And this is also why several national dietary guidelines recommend it as a good alternative to cow's milk. So yeah, there's a great opportunity here to improve consumers' overall health and nutrition.
Thank you. It's super interesting. Moving on then to methods of nutritional enhancement. Valentina, what recent innovations have you seen in enhancing the nutritional value of alternative proteins?
Yeah, I think probably one of the most interesting, in my opinion, is precision fermentation. Because if you think about it, it's an ancient tool that has been modernized in the recent year. And it's a win-win because with only few ingredients, bacteria and their feed, it can produce very high-quality alternative proteins together with specific nutrients that are necessary for our body. For example, I've been recently at a food innovation conference, and I attended a very interesting speech from a company. And they were talking about a specific bacteria that through fermentation can produce meat-like protein. So to prepare, for example, plant-based burgers, very similar to the meat ones. And at the same time, through fermentation, the bacteria also produce vitamin B12, that we know is one of the most critical nutrients in a totally complete plant-based diet. So that's a very good tool to increase the nutritional value. And also, I think we will see in the next years the use of AI to enhance, in general, the let's say the nutrients value of plant-based alternatives. Is a very interesting new technology because it analyzes an enormous amount of data and can produce, let's say, it helps produce high-quality products with the most balanced nutrition profile, counting very specific details that as humans we cannot calculate in such a fast way. And yeah, I would say these two are the most interesting tools that we can see as of now.
Thank you. How is biotechnology, so including methods like fortification and improving bioavailability, helping to make alternative proteins more nutritious?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you think about it, the main issue of plant-based food is their lack of specific nutrients, as I mentioned, for example, vitamin B12, but also iron, zinc, and other minerals. And in general, biotechnology, like for example, biofortification and also conventional fortification, as well as a combination of both, are really good tools to add the micronutrients that, for example, the plant-based foods are lacking. Another example, it could be like try to add specific micronutrients ingredients. For example, algae is an ingredient that we are going to see a lot in the future, but also mushrooms. And these are ingredients that naturally contains a lot of micronutrients. And if you add them to, let's say, the base of plant-based alternatives, you can have a really balanced and nutritious food. Yeah, I would say so. And biotechnology is very good for biofortification, which is the fortification of the crops, so specific crops. And we have a really good example of crops that have been biofortified, which means the plant itself can produce more of a specific nutrient, and then these nutrients stays in the food that we eat normally. Yeah, so these I think are all important roles of biotechnology in the development of plant-based food.
Wow, thank you. It's amazing, really, what we can do and what plants are capable of as well.
Yeah.
So at the end of this summer, your team published a brief on plant-based product fortification. Can you tell us a little bit more about the brief and its purpose, and how can it help food retailers and manufacturers?
Yes. So, in general, the goal of our brief on fortification was to try to help food manufacturers and food retailers to include and to use more fortification for different reasons. In general, we want to raise awareness regarding the power of fortification and how it can be used together with other product development tools to enable a healthy and sustainable diet. In the brief, we focus in general on plant-based alternatives, but not only on that. Also, we mentioned, as I said before, for example, biofortification, and in general, we talk about let's say plant-based food in general, not just the new generation alternatives. And we basically summarize the challenges around fortification, why it's still not so common, in terms of, for example, product development, because it can change the taste of a product, or maybe it's expensive for the producer, or in general, the regulatory landscape. It can be different from country to country and from continent to continent. So we focus on that as well. And we also create a sort of example table, like in which we go through each specific animal-based food and its nutrients, and let's say the plant-based equivalents, which type of nutrients should it have as well to be comparable to the animal-based one. So, for example, we go through different type of meat products and their micronutrients, and then we say, okay, plant-based, for example, burgers should have vitamin B12, iron as a fortified nutrients. Exactly. So with like all the entire brief, which is not very long as well, so it's easy to read. At the end of the day, it's like a guide for manufacturers to understand how to fortify their products in an easy way.
Amazing. It's a real toolkit then.
Yeah.
So let's have a little look now at market trends and consumer preferences. It's obviously important to follow changing trends and consumer preferences as they evolve in the food industry. Anna-Lena, have you noticed a growing demand from consumers for more nutritious food options, particularly in alt proteins?
Yeah, so we know from consumer research that besides the curiosity to try new products and the taste, health is one of the top drivers for purchasing plant-based foods and shifting in the direction of a more plant-based diet. And the appetite for alternative proteins and plant-based food products is definitely growing, with animal-free protein increasingly viewed as the healthier choice. And I mean, the evidence clearly shows that we need to eat a more plant-based diet for our health and for the health of the planet. And at least in Europe, it becomes like new normal to eat less animal-based foods. So yeah, people are becoming more and more aware of the benefits of plant-based products, and they are also looking for more nutritious food options. And I mean, there is nothing wrong with enjoying a good burger in a fast food restaurant every now and then, but we also need options that we can integrate in people's daily menus, so that can be part of a healthy, balanced diet. So there's a huge need for many more healthy plant-based food products.
How are companies responding to this shift in consumer demand when developing new products?
Yeah, I would say it depends. So some companies are real pioneers here. So they produce delicious products that have a really good nutritional profile. And more companies are realizing that health is an important factor and taking into account in their product development. And I hope that more companies will follow. I mean, food companies can play an important role in enabling healthy and sustainable diets through responsible product development, reformulation, and fortification, as Valentina already explained. And I think a holistic product development strategy for plant-based food should be based on 3 key principles. First, address common nutrient deficiencies, for example, iodine. Second, fortify products with key nutrients and ensure that others that are naturally occurring and retain during the production process, for example, fiber. And third, limit nutrients of concern such as salt and sugar.
Thank you, Anna-Lena. Now, your team have been very busy this year, and you've published an exciting report comparing alternative protein products with animal-based products across Europe. Valentina, what were the main findings from this report?
Yes, so the report was mostly based on European countries, but we also included, for example, USA and Malaysia and South Africa. And what we discover is like the countries, as of now, the countries that best perform in offering plant-based meat alternatives were the Netherlands and Belgium. And for milk alternatives were again the Netherlands, Italy, Belgium, the UK, and Czechia. And like through this comparison between animal-based product and plant-based product, we saw that the meat alternatives appear to be, let's say, a bit better in terms of nutritional profile than animal-based meat. But there is the need of like improving the formula of these products. For example, trying to reduce the salt content, which is still a nutrient of concern for this type of product. But in general, plant-based meat alternatives contain a similar amount of protein, less saturated fat than total fat, and significantly more fiber than animal-based counterparts, which is great because they can be a source of fiber. And generally, they are fortified with vitamin B12 and iron. We saw mostly in the European countries, but there is still not so well-used fortification. And we see the same for plant-based milk alternatives. So most of them are fortified with calcium and vitamin D, but not in all the countries. And this is another way to raise the awareness around fortification. And the positive things is like in all the countries, plant-based soya milk was performing much better than cow's milk. Because when soy milk is fortified with calcium, vitamin D, B12, and vitamin B2, performs better than cow's milk that usually, if it's not fortified with vitamin D, and let's say with our score had a little bit less points, and in general contains much more saturated fats and total fats. And yes, I think these were the main points, the main things that we find out through our evaluation.
Following the report then, what recommendations do you have for plant-based product manufacturers?
Yeah, so exactly. We developed a little guide for manufacturers and for other stakeholders that are involved in the development and production of plant-based alternatives. And in general, we can say that manufacturers should try to formulate products that contribute to healthy and sustainable diets. And to do so, they need to adjust, for example, salt content and add fortification as a good practice in the development of this type of product. Together with salt, limit other ingredients of concerns. So, for example, sugar, try to not overdo on that to change and improve the taste of the product, but instead try to add other ingredients like, for example, herbs and spices to make them more to have a better taste similar to meat products. And I would say also in general provide transparency to consumers, because we are seeing there is a shift in consumer behavior, and more people are very interested, and they look into the ingredients list and so on. So it's better to be transparent.
Yeah, absolutely. Consumers are demanding a little bit more from us now, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's have a little look now at some challenges and opportunities in the industry, because we need to know how to move forward. Anna-Lena, let's move over to you. So businesses are likely to hit some barriers when trying to produce and sell healthier products, completely normal. What would you say are the main challenges then in developing and marketing more nutritious alternative proteins?
Yes, so as we now already learned, fortification plays a significant role in enhancing the nutritional profile of plant-based alternative products. However, there are several challenges. Let me describe 3 challenges in more detail. So the first one is regulatory restrictions. So the regulation of plant-based product fortification differs across markets worldwide. And while some countries are very supportive of food fortification, others are more restrictive. In Canada, for example, plant-based meat and dairy alternatives must be fortified so they have the same nutritional value as their animal-based equivalents. And the fortification of plant-based alternatives is also very common and accepted in the US, where even organic products can be fortified. In the EU, conventional products can also be fortified, but there is a regulation that organic products are not allowed to be fortified. So this is definitely a problem. The next one are technical challenges. So there are different forms of vitamins and minerals that can be used as fortifiers, and these vary in terms of taste and bioavailability. For example, some calcium salts that are also used in nutritional supplements, they have higher levels of bioavailability, but they can also have an unpleasant flavor, including bitterness and sourness. So product developers need to find a good solution here and conduct research into how the flavor is not affected. And the third challenge is, consumer acceptance of fortified foods. So factors that influence consumer acceptance are age, gender, nationality, education, nutritional knowledge, and the presence of food neophobia. So food neophobia is a tendency to reject or be reluctant to try new and unfamiliar products or foods. There is also some consumer research studies that have shown that quote unquote more healthy was taken to mean less tasty, while fortification was perceived as quote unquote luxury and expensive for consumers. So it's clear that consumers' knowledge, which is often minimal regarding fortification, is fundamental to understand and appreciate both the benefits of fortification and the importance of a healthy diet in general. And I love the example with iodized table salt. So in most countries, the best strategy to control iodine deficiency is careful monitored iodization of salt. And the research of current iodized salt programs by national governments is really remarkable. So thanks to fortification programs, 88% of the global population is now using iodized salt, and the number of countries with adequate iodine intake has nearly doubled over the past 20 years. So it's a great public health achievement, and we need to raise awareness and knowledge of these benefits among consumers.
Yes, absolutely. Looking at the support for alternative proteins then, how do regulatory frameworks influence the development of nutritionally enhanced alternative proteins?
Yeah, so as I already mentioned, in the EU, conventional products can be fortified, but there is a regulation that organic products are not allowed to be fortified. And from a nutritional perspective, this presents a barrier for organic plant-based food producers to compete with non-organic producers and animal-based products, of course. However, the current regulations do allow for the nutritional profile of plant-based products to be improved through the addition of micronutrient-rich ingredients. So plant-based milk producers sometimes add ingredients such as algae in order to increase the calcium content, which is a really smart solution. But I think this should not be like the end goal, I mean, policymakers should allow the fortification of plant-based products in organic certification schemes. I mean, allowing the fortification of organic plant-based products would support the delivery of the EU's policy goals and ensure that consumers do not have to compromise on nutrition when making more sustainable choices.
100%. Moving on to future opportunities, what future opportunities do you see for growth and innovation in the nutrition-focused alternative protein market?
Yes, so I see the most important opportunities for improvement in technological advances in food processing, the development of new plant-based protein sources, and ongoing research into consumer preferences to better tailor products to consumer expectations. And I think also the use of fungi and precise fermentation, as Valentina already mentioned, are also key for the future development of sustainable, low-processed, nutritious, and flavorful alternative products. And I also definitely agree biofortification can be a really interesting field. So biofortified crops, I think even the World Health Organization states that this can be recognized as a nutrition-sensitive agriculture intervention that can reduce vitamin and mineral deficiencies. And I think all these things are very interesting for future growth and innovation.
Thank you. Now, before we close our conversation, I'd just love to gather a few final words of advice to share with our viewers and listeners. How can policymakers support businesses in developing more nutritious products?
Yeah, for example, we saw this through our report. So providing national guidelines for plant-based alternatives is definitely a very good way of improve the quality of plant-based products. So, for example, in the Dutch countries, there is this guideline called White Paper towards a more plant-based diet. And basically, the Nutrition Center offer specific recommendation on how to develop a nutritious and sustainable plant-based alternatives. So having this type of guideline on a national level would be very good. And also try to include the plant-based alternatives into the national dietary guidelines. We know that there are some countries that already included the plant-based alternatives in their national dietary guidelines, but we would like to see this more. Definitely, there is the need of developing specific regulation for these products and also strategic plans for the fortification of plant-based alternatives and also on how to reduce the nutrients of concern, as we said before. And last but not least, I would say try to reduce the VAT for plant-based alternatives because it's still very high in most of the countries. And that's why plant-based diets sometimes are seen as luxury because still the products cost much more in compared to their animal-based counterparts.
Brilliant, thank you. And my final question today would be, what should consumers be looking for when choosing more nutritious alternative proteins?
Yeah, we always say to start with and prioritize fresh whole foods. So, for example, legumes, but also nuts, grains. So generally very low processed food, but then it's important that the consumer start to reducing their animal-based foods intake, mostly obviously for the environmental impact. Consumer should also try to understand the strength and limitation of plant-based alternatives. And consumer organization can help in this, like try to educate people on how to build a proper, healthy and sustainable diet and how to choose the best product for doing so. I would also like to see a more fair discussion around processed food, because processing it doesn't mean that it's bad for our health, and the degree of processing alone cannot be used to make, let's say, a reliable statement about the health of a food. So it's important that people start understanding the difference between a processed food and a healthy processed food and a healthy processed food. And to do so, it's super important that consumers start learning how to read the nutrition facts labels that you can find in every product at the supermarket. So try to understand and pay attention on added sugar, the amount of saturated fats, and just basically, for example, learning how to read front of label packaging, like Nutri-Score, which is very helpful for consumers. And yes, with all this information, it will be much easier to create a personal, healthy, and sustainable diet.
Amazing. Well, thank you both so much for chatting with me today. It's been such an insightful conversation.
Thank you so much
Thanks
for
to
having
you
us.
for inviting. Yes.
And for those of you at home watching and listening, make sure to check out the research team's latest report, and also make sure to head to the New Food Hub website for more insights and subscribe to the podcast.